Okay, so please be advised that we're going to go through a lot of content in this video. It might be one of my longer videos. I'm going to try to keep it brief, general, and clear, okay? Because I might ping pong, between different time frames, right? But I'm going to try to stay in the same time frame. In our previous video, we're talking about power, the different theories of power. We have balance of power, how it was broken, when Napoleon went ahead and tried to overthrow the entire Europe or conquer entire Europe, right? And then we talk about the restoration of balance of power with the Metternichian system. Okay, now we have here, right, the hierarchy of power. Now we were discussing the pros and cons of hierarchy of power, right? The pro of having a hierarchy of power is that those that fall on the bottom are said to behave. Okay, the cons is those on top might get tempted to conquer over those weaker states. All right, so let's continue on here with the question: what is the Versailles Treaty? All right, so the Treaty of Versailles here. All right, the Versailles Treaty concluded World War I in 1919. All right, so this is a big step into the future. First, I have to discuss World War One, or lastly, I have to discuss World War One. Previously to World War One, I have to discuss what catalyzed World War One. All right, now you have here um, the Metternichian system. Okay, and that's basically when this Austrian prince attempted to restore the balance of power. It did bring stability, okay, for a few decades, but eventually you had this one innovative person, a Prussian chancellor by the name of Bismarck. All right, and this guy Bismarck, he kind of provided the infrastructure of World War One, and we all know that World War One led right into World War Two, or World War Two was caused by the misdistribution of power of World War One. So ultimately, this guy was the ultimate source of World War One, but he didn't know. He can't predict the future. Okay, all right. Now let's go. Let's discuss Bismarckian, the Bismarckian system, right? So before Germany became Germany, it was basically little kingdoms, little monarchs, ruling in their favor and things like that. But Bismarck, the Prussian chancellor, went ahead and unified all these kingdoms. Okay, they stood united. All right, so now in the hierarchy of power, what do you think that those little states are going to do? They know that they're not as powerful as the one on top. Okay, they know, right? So what they do, they form alliances. They say, hey, listen, this guy on top, he's too powerful for me to take alone. How about we unify together? And, we have each other's um, backsides, right? Okay, what does this lead into, right? So you see Bismarckian unifying these small individual kingdoms, right? Then you see the then this causes tension within Europe. Hey, why is Bismarck going around establishing a unified Germany, right? Listen, by 1870 to 1914, Germany, they had the biggest population, they had the largest army, okay, the highest technology. They were set and they were willing to conquer the entire Europe, okay? So this is when imperialism and empires begin to form, okay, and disrupt the balance of power and disrupt the hierarchy of power, because those weak states, they want to get to the top. All right. Bismarck's goal was just to maintain a balance of power. Okay, remember that there is no such thing as a true balance of power. There's always going to be one state that has more people in it. There's always going to be one state that has fewer or lesser weapons or higher technology than the other. There is no true balance of power, right? So basically, Bismarck just wanted to attain that balance of power with the other empires, specifically talking the English, the French. Okay, so he attempted to unify these small little kingdoms. These kingdoms were harmless, but eventually, you know, uh, they became too much of a threat to neighboring countries. All right. Now, Bismarck, he was not an imperialist. He wasn't a conqueror, right? He just wanted to attain balance of powers. He even attempted to form treaties with the British and the French, didn't work out to his favor. Eventually, warfare did break out. The Bismarckian system lasted from 1870 to 1914, but Bismarck himself did not stay in office for the entire term. He was kind of fired halfway around 1890, and the people that took over, they began building arms and bigger armies and forming alliances with Austria, right? And these were the people that catalyzed World War One. So we've concluded our discussion on the unification of Germany, right? One thing about politics is that you have to understand that when you go into office, you are picking up after all of the work from the one previous in office, right? So in 1890, when Bismarck was dismissed, okay, those that came in, they picked up after the unification of Germany, and they went ahead and they governed to their perspective. They believed that building arms and building a population uh, and massive army would benefit them, not knowing that that actually psychologically affected the mentality or the governing mentality of other states. It's like, hey, why are they building arms over there? Hey, why are they forming alliances over there, right? So then this kind of catalyzed World War One, and in 1914, first strike was blown. Austria went ahead, and everybody just got into a big war. Okay, now we're discussing here World War One. So during World War One, you had many players or many states in warfare. You had British, French, you had the Italians, you had Austria, you had Hungarians, you had Germans, um, you had Turkish. Okay, now you have these seven key players, right? So ultimately, who won World War One? The British and the French. Okay, the losers, of course, the Turkish, um, the Hungarians, the Germans, the Austrians, even the Russians. They lost. Okay, now this is where we get into the Treaty of Versailles, right? So the Treaty of Versailles concluded World War One in 1919. One thing to understand is that Europe destroyed itself after World War One. The economy totally destroyed, planes totally destroyed, its political arrangements totally disrupted. Everything was destroyed, okay, both on the winning side and the loser side. So this all has to go back on the balance of power. There is no true balance of power. There's always going to be one country that's going to be slightly better than the other one. There's never really true equality when it comes to balance of power, and that's what caused World War One. This mental construct of attaining the same amount of power or attaining more power than a neighboring country. Okay, now with an economy totally destroyed, believe it or not, even though the French and the British, they were claimed the winners. They also had losers on their side, right? That dissatisfied winners, or we will call them, which was Italy and Japan. They were dissatisfied with the distribution of power. Okay. Um, and then you had the biggest losers, which were Germany, and Austria, who were completely dissatisfied because their economy was totally destroyed. Okay, and so mental constructs. We're still discussing how the balance of power system quite didn't work out. So I'm going to conclude this video with if monarchs from Europe were able to maintain or withdraw their greed of power, we could have avoided two world wars. Because honestly, World War II was caused by the distribution of balance of power of World War One. All right. Once again, the Treaty of Versailles concluded World War One in 1919.